Well, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Week 3 on YouthTube.
YouthTube, week 3. YouthTube, week 3. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, let's jump right into it. It's game time.
Oh, it's game time.
We're going to start out. We've got a fun game today. Stacy, I don't know if you're going to be able to hang. Yeah.
Oh, don't you worry.
Watch out.
Don't you worry.
Maybe some of you have seen it before. We are doing a game from Minute to Win It where you put an Oreo on the top of your forehead and you have to move it down your face into your mouth without it falling off your face or using your hands to get it from your forehead to your mouth. We're going to see who is going to win,
handle it.
Or should I say we're going to see who's going to lose. And
excuse me?
I mean,
what did I ever do to you?
Nothing, I'm just saying, you know.
Oh, just
I really like Oreos.
Just wait. That was fun. What were you saying about winners?
I don't want to talk about it.
What do I win?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, he's a sore loser. It's fine, guys. Let's move on.
All right, now it's time for the most fun segment of all in our YouTube videos. It's time for Rona made me do it. So we've been getting a couple comments and messages from people about, you know, doing a haircut. And, you know, we were talking about it. The hair's getting kind of wild, getting a little long.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go.
Nowhere.
Maybe some of you have found this problem. So we've seen a lot of videos of people cutting their own hair.
Right.
And we've done the research.
You can YouTube it.
You can YouTube it.
It's
Everything's
fine.
on YouTube.
We can do it. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. I think we can totally figure it out. Yeah. So tonight,
cutting hair.
we're cutting hair.
I don't really know why people challenge us to cut your hair.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good idea.
I think we'll be fine.
I don't know. I feel like my hairdresser might get upset.
I don't think so. How hard can it be? It's just cutting hair, right? I mean, you know, we just take a little off here. Yeah. A little bit here.
Okay.
We're not done.
I can't handle this. What have you done?
I think it looks pretty good.
Well,
Gotcha.
we couldn't do it.
We couldn't do it. There was
Sorry,
no
guys.
work cutting hair.
Nobody's getting their hair cut tonight.
No, we don't have the clippers for it.
Right.
I definitely am not cutting your hair.
No, I'm not allowing you to.
I mean,
And I'm way too afraid to cut yours.
I had kitchen scissors in my hand.
Yeah. That's not even... That's the only pair of scissors we have in this house.
The only pair.
That's not gonna work. So
I still think I could do it.
no, no, I don't even know why we're having this discussion.
Well, there's Rona made me do it. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
We found a really cool wig.
Rona tried to make me do it, and I said no.
Time for announcements. Announcements.
What's happening this week?
This week, we are not having Breakfast Club because it's Mother's Day.
Yes!
So instead of meeting for Breakfast Club, you should make your mom breakfast. Nora and Emmett are gonna make Stacy breakfast.
Yeah, what are we gonna have?
I don't know. Nora's got a menu. She's like really excited about it.
Okay.
She's in fact, I'm just gonna sleep in and
and she's just gonna handle it.
whip it up.
That sounds like a horrible idea, but okay.
No, I'm gonna help her. Okay. But we've got a surprise.
Good. Okay, so no breakfast club.
Breakfast Club.
Got it.
But what you could do is you could text youth to the number that is on the screen right here at the bottom. And so that you can get our text in church system. I send out a text message to remind you that there's no Breakfast Club, so you don't find yourself just waiting for Breakfast Club to start when it's not going to happen this week. Hang out with your mom, spend some time with your family. It's really fun. I love Mother's Day. It's a really good time. So I'm really excited about it. Also, you could follow us on YouTube. subscribe to this
Yes.
YouTube page that you're watching on right now, and then also follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram @_TCC Youth. So we're going to post a lot of updates, things that are going on. We really have a desire for you guys to stay connected during this time. Please do so. We want to be here for you. We are here for you. We're available.
Yeah.
And
Let us know if you need anything.
yeah, because we're here to help.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. Okay, so tonight, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about being steadfast in the Lord. So we've been doing our Rona Made Me Do It segments.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that Rona has made me do that isn't super funny, so I haven't like included it yet. But it's been really fun, and it's something that I personally have enjoyed. It is making sourdough bread. So it's something I've always wanted to try. It takes a really long time, and I didn't really understand how intensive this process was when I began it. It just like looked really cool. Like, let's make homemade bread.
Like all the Instagram influencers do it. So like
Instagram,
we should probably do that, right?
You know, Instagram has its ways. It's not good sometimes. But so I did it. I made some sourdough bread. And the process is kind of intense. Let me break it down real quick. So
like the quick version.
Very quick version.
Because it's a long
In all flour, there is natural yeast to cultivate that yeast and make it grow. It's a living organism. You have to add water to it and let it sit and ferment and like grow. And so every day, every morning at the same time, you feed this sourdough starter is what it's called. And it rises as the yeast eats the flour, you feed it, and then it falls. And it rises and it falls, and day after day after day, it gets more and more sour.
For like 7 to 10 days.
For 7 to 10 days, you have to do this. It's a long time. And then you take that starter and you mix it with more flour and water, and it becomes the yeast that's going to rise your bread, and then you proof the bread, and then you shape the bread, and then you put it in the fridge overnight, and then you pull it out and put it in the oven, and 2 days later you have 2 loaves of bread. So it's like a 12-day process.
Yes.
Kind of crazy. And so
because you can go to the grocery store and buy sourdough bread in a half hour.
You can, but you don't get to make it.
True.
It's not homemade. It's not fresh out of the oven.
It does not taste the same. I can promise you that.
It doesn't. It's very good.
Yeah.
So there it is. Sourdough in a nutshell. If you want to try, you could look it up. But yeah, so you have to follow a very precise plan in order to achieve sourdough bread. The first time I started this, I thought, Justin, I can do it myself. Let me look up a recipe and I will figure it out.
Let me look up a couple recipes.
Put them all together, you know, take what I like from that. Oh, I don't like that one, so I'll throw that
that
out and add a little bit of that. And so the first time I tried, I started out and it just didn't start well. And so I started to change things, and then I looked up another recipe and then changed a little bit more. And probably 2 weeks later, we decided to try and make some bread with it. It's like, okay, this has been really long. It's not necessarily rising super great, but it's bubbling, which is good, I think. So we tried it, and it wasn't successful. It was like, wah, wah, wah. We baked it. It came out of the oven.
It looked really pretty.
Looked very pretty on the outside.
But
we cut into it, and it was as dense as a brick. So we failed, or I failed. And
we tossed it.
Oh,
wow.
And I threw the starter away that I had tried to create, and I started over. But this time with a game plan. And I had a specific plan from someone who like does this on a regular basis and had like a very professional.
Every night before we went to bed, he would watch this guy's YouTube videos on making it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're listening to this guy again.
I was determined to
he was like all about
conquer
it
the sourdough bread. I was gonna do it. Like I'm not gonna let this beat me. I'm going to persevere and make some awesome bread. So I did it. I followed this plan, and it went really, really well. And we got some really delicious bread.
It was worth listening to the YouTube now.
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything to show you now because we already
ate it. All of it.
Sorry.
And it comes, you make 2 loaves.
2 gone.
1 for him, 1 for me.
Hey.
Sorry, kids.
Sorry, kids.
No,
You don't get
bread
it.
for you.
But, so you might be wondering, Justin, this is great. I'm glad you made sourdough bread, but what does this have to do with the Bible
Anything.
or us following God?
Yeah.
So what I want to encourage you all is I want us to learn about God's being steadfast in our relationship with God. But I also want to encourage you to look for correlations in things you do in life that you experience that can relate back to God and your relationship with God. So as I pursued this sourdough bread and I really saw a parallel between our relationship with God and how we experience life and how we experience who God is and this bread process. So the first time I tried to do it on my own. I had some instructions. So let's say it's us loosely following God and his plan for our life and his desires of how we should live. And it was tough. It just didn't go really well.
Right.
I was really anxious. I'm is this the right way? I
doubting
don't
a
really know.
lot,
I doubted a lot. And then the bread turned out and it was just really bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great. We could have eaten it.
Right. It wouldn't have hurt us.
It wouldn't have hurt us, but
it probably would
I might have broken some teeth.
painful.
Which wouldn't have been good.
No, yeah.
But then with the next time, I entered it and I was committed to following a plan.
Right.
And so as we grow in our relationship with God and grow in our understanding of who God is, we have to be committed to following his plan or his desires for our life. The only way that we're going to know that is by reading his word.
Yeah.
And there are times where it's hard, right? It's not easy.
There were still days, even with the good, the path that you were following was good. There are still days when you're I don't really know if this is he's saying to do this. I'm not really sure that that's really going to work.
Right.
And I kept just saying just follow the plan, follow the plan, follow the plan. And it worked. But there's still doubt that can seep in even when we are following God's plan. And they're still wait, are you sure, God? Are you sure this is what you're asking me to do? That seems kind of weird. But God is faithful, just as this YouTube guy was telling to tell you what to do.
Right.
He nothing had ever gone wrong. Everything he told you to do, it worked. Same with when God tells us to do something, it works.
Right.
It's God's plan.
Absolutely. It's so good. Even when we know the end goal in sight, right? We know the end destination and what it's going to be like.
Right.
But the process between point A of where we are now and getting to point B, where God has this plan and desire and we know what it's going to be like, it's so hard. We lose sight so easy. Even though I knew that if I followed that bread plan, step by step,
right, it was gonna
that we were going to end up with good sourdough.
But I
still doubted it. Right. So there's a verse in 1 Corinthians 15. It's verse 57 and 58. So I'm going to read it, and it just really speaks to what we're talking about tonight. It says, "But thanks be to God who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain." So as we pursue our relationship with God, as we, kind of talking about God's image last week, as we live in a way that glorifies God's image that is within all of us and brings out the image of God in the people that we are around, we have to be steadfast. It's not easy. There is so much sin in the world, and there's such a desire for us to do it our own way that we can lose sight. And even Pastor Brian was talking about last week on Sunday morning, how the people in the Bible didn't always see the end result and God's promise to them, but God still promised it and carried it through. And so we have to remember that God has proven that he is faithful time and time again, and he has never not been faithful.
Right.
So that is a double negative, I understand, but he is always faithful.
There we go.
And so we have to trust that, and that's what faith is.
Right.
It's trusting the process, and the process is hard. The process can be long.
Right. You could be stuck at home.
And we could be stuck at home
for a long time.
But we have to trust and know
right.
that God is faithful.
Right.
And he is here. And he is working.
Right.
And he is present.
Right.
And we just have to continue to follow him.
Yeah.
So tonight, our encouragement is follow Jesus. Be steadfast. Spend time in his word. Read God's word. Get to know who he is. Just like you would a best friend. And like figure out like his desire for your life. And do it with people. Like do it with your mom and dad. Do it with your brothers and sisters. Do it with us. Like we're here. We're hanging out. We'd love to like help you walk down that journey with you. And that's what I think is so sweet about this time. Like, yeah, we're distant, but we're also available.
Right. Yeah.
And so like there's just so much space to connect with people. And it's great. And so tonight, like we just wanted to give you that word of encouragement that like be steadfast. Like know that God's desire for your life is good. The way God intended life to be lived is for our best benefit. And look and be aware of like God working in your life just in everyday things, like making bread. Well, TCC Youth,
we love you.
We love you. We miss you. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Yes.
And celebrate your mothers this Sunday.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.